Music in video games is a genre people tend to overlook or ignore when comparing it to more streamlined music. And understandably so, there's a big difference between these genres of music. For example, when comparing songs like and songs from video games like there's just a slight difference. Music in video games helps create this atmosphere that a player can recognize and stay immersed in, whether that's in a big orchestra during a final boss, or a fun techno piece during an intense fight with a killer flower. Background music has been proved to be an indispensable part of every successful video game, constantly being used to communicate aspects of the narrative, convey emotion, and overall to enrich the player's experience. Over time, music has become a much more prominent aspect of video games with every new release, offering new possibilities and ideas as technology continues to push the boundaries for what's possible, new genres of games start to bloom, and as the minds of developers continue to grow. And honestly get more stupid. Like, did you think you could make this? No. Only a man with no life but too much talent on their hands could do something so What are we listening to? Mario, The Legend of Zelda, Banjo-Kazooie, Mega Man, Donkey Kong, Crash Bandicoot. What do all these games have in common? They're all really old. Platformers. Designing a good platformer is a very easy thing to mess up. Tight movement, interactive worlds, etc. All necessary aspects for a fantastic platformer. However, music plays a very heavy aspect in this genre, allowing developers to expand new territories in music design and create something truly unique for their game. Let's take a look at 2017's Cuphead, for example.
Cuphead.
One of the harder games of the year. Despite the excruciating difficulty, Cuphead brought something to the world of video game music that hadn't been seen before. Right off the bat, the player can understand that this game has a very specific aesthetic that calls for a very specific style of music, and composer Christopher Madigan has excelled this from every angle. With a total of 56 different tracks and nearly 3 hours in duration, every song has its own unique characteristics that make each song stand out from the next. With the main focus of the soundtrack revolving around jazz, freedom rises, allowing for a quicker and more staccato sound to match the high-intensity gunplay of each boss fight. In one of the first bosses of the game, the melody and tempo picks up almost immediately, putting you right into the action and giving the player connection to the actual gameplay. First you're fighting a potato, then an onion, then a big stupid carrot. God, I hate the carrot so much. Does it make any sense? No, but that doesn't matter. The music is so fun and engaging and gives you the exact energy you need to beat this carrot. Why does the carrot have a third eye that shoots lasers? For the love of God, help. Okay. Thanks to technology being a thing that exists, Cuphead's soundtrack was recorded live with the help of over 40 musicians and major influences of the 1930s jazz sound from many music legends such as Duke Ellington, Cab Calloway, and Gene Krupa. Christopher Madigan, Cuphead's head composer, perfectly puts the player into an environment filled with energy and life, crafting catchy yet chaotic melodies and perfectly written moments of tension as the player will most likely need some sort of enthusiasm death after death after death. While many game soundtracks today revolve around interactive music, Christopher went for a traditional song structure of a start, middle, and end to each track rather than segmented loop points. For Cuphead, it works perfectly, with each track having just enough dynamic and variety to be engaging yet not irritating when on repeat. The music of Cuphead truly brings the gameplay to life, pulling the player into a world of pain, destruction, suffering, and jazz, creating something never before seen in the gaming industry. Now, on a much lighter note, 3D platformers have also had a massive impact on the growth of video game music. As the technology for game design began to improve, so did the technology for music design. managing the soundtrack. With a large amount of responsibility at his hands, Yokota used his opportunity to experiment with the Mario franchise and expand the musical limits in gaming. Yokota was eventually given the opportunity to use a live orchestra for the soundtrack, and after many altercations with others working on the game, lots of trial and error, you know what, let's just let the soundtrack speak for itself. Super Mario Galaxy used a mix of live recorded instruments and electronic instruments to truly express the space-like theme of the game and to connect the player with the atmosphere, while still presenting a lot of energy and power throughout the many songs. As any classic Mario game does, the music greatly changes with each new galaxy and environment, jumping from a peaceful, major, fast-paced melody in songs like to a much darker, minor bass piece like to give the player a bigger sense of adventure as they progress through the game. This soundtrack also gave birth to many interactive ideas in the gameplay, affecting the tone and energy of the music as the game progresses. Throughout the game, the player travels to various galaxies and planets to retrieve stars, and at the end of each galaxy, a grand star is retrieved, powering different parts of the hub world and over time, creating a more orchestral theme. The first theme starts off slower, less confident, and generally smaller, but as more grand stars are retrieved, more orchestral instruments are introduced, creating a much bolder, louder, and more intriguing theme to help set the different moods of success in the game. Super Mario Galaxy and its soundtrack gave the Mario franchise a fresh, new look, creating new ideas and opportunities for future Mario titles, while still drawing inspiration from previous Mario titles and other Nintendo franchises. And that's going to be the end of the first episode of this podcast. I don't know. What do people say at the end of podcast? This is so strange. Yeah, probably should have been longer, but it's like, what, 4 in the morning? Yeah, I'm gonna go to bed. So, stay moist.